and Yaakov is coming, and then he says like this. So yesterday we said how Yaakov is upset because he might get killed, and he might have to do some killing. And on page 172, Vayomer im Yevo Esav, 3 lines to the top. Vayomer im Yevo Esav al Machane Achaz v'Yikol v'Yaya Machane Nishol Lifleita. There will be a remaining camp. And then Yaakov says a prayer. And Rashi says over here, take a look at pasuk. In Rashi. Take a look at Rashi. Pasuk test. About 10 lines down in Rashi, right column, about 10 lines down. The first word in block print. Hanishar lifleita. They'll remain to get away. And you'll notice the root of the word lifleita. They'll. How does he translate in the art scroll? They'll survive. And the word lifleita has the same root as lot in it. Lot. Lot is the one who survived. He escaped from Sodom, right, when Sodom was overturned. So Lot, miklat, right, or a miklat, refuge, cities of refuge. Got that lamed tes, a lamed tes root in it. So Rashi says like this, if you find it, please show the person next to you. Anishar lifleita, he says they'll remain al korcho. The remaining camp will survive against Esav's will, ki elochem imo, because I'm going to battle with him. I'm going to go to battle with Esav. And therefore we will fight to the death, and the other camp will remain. Hiskin atzma l'shlosha dvarim. Yaakov prepared himself for 3 things here. Lidoron, a gift. Litfila, prayer. Vilimulchama, and war, and battle. That means Yaakov, we're going to see that he's going to send Esav a gift. He's going to try to bribe him, which is one of the reasons Jews have survived through history, by bribing. Because one of the reasons is this is Maisa Avos Simin Labanim. You ever heard that concept, Maisa Avos Simin Labanim? What the forefathers did is a sign. It's an omen or a sign for the children, how the children should behave and what we're going to be able to do through history. Maisa was like Avraham Avinu comes to the land of Israel, and it's a difficult land to settle. Is Maisa Avos Simin Labanim. That's an omen for us, because we're also, you come to Israel, they say if you want to make a small fortune in Israel, so you come here with a big fortune. That's how you make a small fortune. Israel. It's a tough. It's not always a soft landing. Eretz Yisrael, nicknames to be Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael is acquired through suffering. So Yaakov even prepares. Number 1, let's try to bribe him. Number 2, prayer. And number 3, none of that works. We're going to have to fight. Okay. So he's getting all set. In the Holocaust, I remember reading Holocaust books. You read all these Holocaust reports. I remember reading. They used to send these care packages to the Jews in Europe. So they would send them coffee and cigarettes and chocolate. And as a kid, I didn't understand. I knew coffee you need because my mother, she was a big coffee drinker, and until she had her coffee, we stayed away, and chocolate I knew was high energy, so I figured they needed energy, and cigarettes also. I guess if you're a nicotine addict, then I realized, or maybe later in life I realized that they weren't sending them to be consumed. They were sending them because with the package of cigarettes you could save 20 lives. You give a Nazi guard a cigarette, and you get people out. The chocolate was used as a bribe. They were sending them small things that could be used that had much higher value than the thing itself, because you'd actually save lives with it. So that concept of being able to bribe, the Jews have always bribed their way out. That's something that's a Maisa of a Sim Labanim, and Jews have saved their lives, gotten out of a lot of trouble through history. You're not allowed to bribe just because you want to get out of trouble, by the way. If you broke the law, you can't bribe a public official, you can't bribe a policeman if you're actually guilty. But if you have to bribe somebody because otherwise they'll kill you or incarcerate you, whatever it is. So Jews have survived with those sorts of bribes. So Yaakov is getting ready to send 3 things. So the commentaries say that these 3 things that Yaakov Avinu sends to Esav, and we know every nation has a ministering angel. Who is the ministering angel of Esav? Who's their ministering angel? Who's the ministering angel of Esav? Who's the ministering angel of Esav? The Yetzer Hara, the Satan. The Satan, the Yetzer Hara, the angel of death is all one. Page 172. So the ministering angel of Esav is the Satan. So the commentaries say what Yaakov does with Esav here is a strategy in our own personal battles against the evil inclination. It's how we fight the evil inclination. There are 3 things we do. Number 1, we give him a gift. What does that mean? Besides the goat on Yom Kippur that gets pushed off the cliff, what does it mean we give a gift to the Satan? Yeah.
Like if you want to push yourself to learn Torah, you say after I do this learn Torah, I'll get a slice of pizza.
Very good, very good. Exactly correct. Exactly correct. In other words, in the area of permissibility, it's got to be permissible that a person allows himself something which will then give him the equilibrium that he needs in order to go and push himself to do the mitzvah. So, I'm going to stay up all night learning, but, at midnight I'm going to have an ice cream sundae or something, that sort of thing. That's the gift to the Satan. In other words, a person that people have asked me all the time, how do you know when you're ready to work on self-denial? Or denying yourself certain permissible pleasures. How do you know when you're at that level? Yeah, how do I know I'm at the level I'd like to start working on, not eating dessert because I'm very holy, right? How do I know when I'm at that level? The answer is that after you deny it to yourself, how do you feel afterwards? If you feel upbeat and you learn better and you're a nicer person, then you know what? That's a good area for you to work on. You have the self-fulfillment of having denied yourself something. I don't really need chocolate cake, and I denied it to myself, and what do you call it now? Now I'm ready to take that on. If I deny myself chocolate cake for dessert, then when I go to sit down to learn, all I see is Amarova, chocolate cake. And that's all you think about all afternoon. You know what, don't, go eat your chocolate cake. Do yourself a favor. Just go eat your chocolate cake. And don't you're not the Vilna going yet. Go eat your chocolate cake. So it's a very, very difficult, very, very delicate thing. So the first thing in the battle of the evil inclination is, number one, a gift. Make sure that you take enough out of life, out of the pleasures of life, that you don't overload yourself and become overwhelmed by Judaism. And you got to be very, very honest. What do you need and what do you want? There's what I want. What you want, you don't always have to have. But there's what you need. And the minimum amount of what you need, by the way, the best judge for this, obviously, is your wife. Right? Because your wife, you know what you want. Your wife knows what you need. Right? And so, for example, I needed at a certain point to clear my head and read about sports, so we would get Sports Illustrated that we got from somebody. My wife would censor all the poopy pictures, and I would get to read Sports Illustrated. Now, my need and my want were two different things. My want was to spend 3 hours reading it. My need was probably about 15 minutes, right? And the best judge of that is going to be somebody outside, not yourself, because we're biased. But that's the first thing is the gift. The second thing is prayer. You have to say a tefillah. Whenever you go out, when you walk into the streets, please Hashem, help me to control my eyes. Please Hashem, help me to control myself. Please Hashem, help me to not speak Lashon Hara. You need to daven for divine assistance in the battle against evil inclination. Number three, you got to fight. Sometimes you're confronted, and sometimes it's a bitter battle. It's a battle to the death, but these are all three strategies that Yaakov shows us in his battle with Esav. Okay? Now, then Yaakov goes and he does something very, very, very interesting. He says a prayer. Says to God, listen, I'm undeserving. And then in Pasuk Yud Beis, he says like this, Hatzileni na, please save me. It's about 8 lines from the top. Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Save me from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esav. Ki yorei anochi asai, I fear him, ped yovo ve'ikaniim al banim. He's going to come and he's going to kill the women and the children. Now you'll notice that expression, Hatzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Anything strike you about that?
Yeah, Achiv is Esav.
Esav is his brother. Why does it say, save me from my brother? He only got one brother. He only got one brother, and he's talking to God. Save me from my brother, save me from Esav. Save me from my brother, save me from Esav. So Rashi says, well, save me from my brother who doesn't treat me like a brother, he treats me like Esav who hates me. That's a plain meaning. Save me from my brother, but he's not much of a brother. He's more behaving like an Esav. There are actually commentaries that say Esav is a generic term for anybody who's evil. Right? But save me from my brother, save me from Esav. So the commentary is more than one commentary. They point out over here that the Jewish people have always been threatened by two types of Esav. Save me from, there's the anti-Semitic, there's the anti-Semite who threatens us physically, and the anti-Semite who kills us with friendship. He acts like a brother. Right? And there are as many Jews who have gone lost to the former, to the latter as the former. And you see the order Yaakov puts it in. Save me from my brother, save me from Esav. There are two aspects, there are two aspects of Esav that we're afraid of. We're afraid of Esav being sweet and nice, and then we become assimilated with Esav. And there's the Esav, and we're always better off when Esav is Esav, and not Esav being sweet. because there are more Jews who've gone lost. They make a calculation that because of assimilation, how many Jews have gone lost since even after the Holocaust. How many how many Jewish people have gone lost. But we're always wary when Esav is friendly. It draws us in, and then the Jews lose their Judaism. And Jews love that, by the way. The minute Esav smiles at us, every time the Jews are welcomed anywhere. If you ever see a flag flying in the United States on the 4th of July, you know it's a Jewish home. And the Jews are always more patriotic than the patriots, right? We're American, and you're American until the point where you're one of the members of the nation. Until, like in Germany, when the Jews were so rampantly assimilated, and so many Jews went lost in Germany, until the Germans said, "Hey, we've had about enough of this. You got all the jobs, and we got none of the money." And we've had about enough. But look how many Jews before that. It was hundreds of years, and the Jews assimilated, and Germany was referred to as the Jerusalem of just the New Jerusalem. And eventually the Jews got sucked in, and all the Jews go lost for forever. And therefore Yaakov says, save me from both. Vayalan sham balayla hahu. He sleeps there on that night. Vayikach min haba biyado. Mincha le'esav achi. If he takes from that which comes to his hand a gift, a mincha is a gift, he takes a gift for Esav, his brother. What's he going to send him? Izim masayim. Pay very careful attention, gentlemen. 200 goats, usyoshim esrim, and 20 male goats. I guess the first one, I don't know what a female goat is called. I guess a goatress, right? He sends 200 goatresses and 20 goats. Rechelim masayim. 200 sheep, ve'elim esrim, and 20 rams. And Rashi points out the proportion is the exact amount of males needed to keep that amount of females pregnant to reproduce in the flock. Because an animal, once a female becomes pregnant, does not accept the male anymore. So a male, it takes 20 goats to 200 female goats, 20 rams to 200 female rams, Gemalim menikos uvenehem shloshim. Female camels and male camels are 1-to-1. They're 30 of each. Poros arboim, 40 cows, uparim asara, and 10 bulls. Asonos esrim, 20 donkeys, vayorim asara, and 20 donkiettes and 10 donkeys. Okay, so he brings his gift. Now pay attention very carefully. First of all, the basic idea is, why would you send the gift that, in a perfect proportion like that? It's perfectly proportional. Why would you think he does it? And he sends it in a group of 5. He sends it, we'll see how he sends it. Also, a very important insight into human nature. So the answer is that Yaakov, when you get a gift, if somebody buys you a gift, you could tell whether they put some thought into the gift or not. And if somebody gets you a paperweight, somebody gives you bought you a paperweight. Why, you got a lot of wind in your house. Papers are flying around. That means that they didn't feel like putting any thought into the gift, so they bought you a paperweight, the model of Brazil. They bought you a paperweight. Oh, thank you very much, right? They didn't put any thought into it. A gift that has thought into it means that the person, so Yaakov sends him not only a gift, he sends him a self-perpetuating flock. I'm not just sending you animals. I'm sending you something that, number one, shows that I thought about it, and it's in your benefit, because now it's going to perpetuate, and they're going to reproduce, and this is a massive amount that he's sending him over here, number one. Number two, if you'll notice, and this is really something that you should well, let's see what happens. Then we'll come back to. We're going to keep your finger on. Just pay attention to. We're going to come back to verse 15 in a second. Vayiten biyad avodav eider levado. 3 lines from the bottom. He puts them in the hands of his servants, each flock by itself. Vayomer el avodav ivru lefanai. Pass ahead of me. V'revach tasimu bein eider uvein eider. Put a distance between one flock and the next. Vayitzaves arishon lemor. He tells the first guy, Ki yifgoshcha Esav achi, when Esav, my brother, meets you, ushe'elcha lemor, lemiata, who are you? Ve'ona selech, lemi elu lefanecha. Who are these? Where are you going? And who are you from? Where are you going? And who are these for? Ve'amarta, you should say, la'avdecha leYaakov, your servant Yaakov, mincha yishlucha ladoni Esav, a gift for my master Esav. V'nei gam hu acharenu, and he's coming up behind us. Vayitzav games hasheni, games hashishi, games kol ha'olchim achrei aladim lamor kadover tedar l'Esav motzach hamato. You tell them, all the guys, when you meet Esav, Esav will say, who is this? You say, it's from our servant Yaakov to our master Esav, which is he's going to hear it 5 times. Okay, now, the idea of doing this is that psychologically in life, when you send a lot of little things, it looks more than one big massive thing. You're sending one, and as Esav gets it, wow, that's really nice. Wow, and it gets the excitement up. And each one that comes in breaks down a certain amount of, Yaakov's hoping, it'll break down a certain amount of the animosity barriers. Esav's erected this animosity barrier against Yaakov. A little bit, you chip away at it. They say, I don't know if it's true, and I don't understand why it's true, but apparently when you call a company because you got a complaint, so you call, they say, yes, can I help you? Yeah, I bought that thing and it blew out. The first day I had sir, let me talk, you have to talk to a supervisor. Let me get you a supervisor. They put you on hold. Then they get the supervisor, he says, oh, that's the electronics department. He puts you on hold. And I read somewhere or heard somewhere that apparently that calms you down because you're just so exhausted after yelling at the first 3 people by the time you get to the 4th. Now, I don't know that it calms you down, but frankly, when that happens to me, I feel like just picking up a gun and walking in, So I don't know that it calms me down, but they claim that, so Yaakov is sending the gifts, one gift at a time, to kind of get Esav to soften him up, and psychologically, when he gets the, what do you call it? Psychologically, we're at page 174. Psychologically, when he gets the gift, so then it'll kind of soften him up towards Esav. 174. Okay, now turn back for a second. Vayikach min haba biyado minchal Esav. He takes from that which comes to his hand a gift for Esav. Easy Masayim Yoshim Esrim, 200 goats and 20 male goats. Rechelim Masayim Ve'ilim Esrim. Anything strike you as strange? Anything you grab you? Anything grab you?
I'm sure it adds up to something.
It does. We'll get to that in a second. Good. We're going to get to what it adds up in a second. We'll see what it adds up to in a second. All right. We'll get to the math in a second. All right. How long haven't they seen each other for? 20 years, 22 years. And why did they have a fight to begin with?
They were jealous.
Stole the brother. He stole the brachas, right? How did he steal the brachas? He went into cognito. What was he wearing on his arms? Goat skins. What's the first thing Esav is going to see after 22 years that he hasn't seen? First thing he sees is goats. Which is probably why we say, it gets my goat. That's probably where the expression comes from, right? Could you imagine, you had a fight with somebody because the guy always takes your parking space, right? And you had a fight, you haven't spoken to a guy in 5 years because he always takes your parking space, and the guy decides he wants to try to appease you. Right? So what does he send? He sends you like a no parking sign or something, or he sends you a model of a car taking somebody else's parking space. Why are you doing that? The answer is that's the ultimate test in life. The ultimate compliment and the ultimate test is, Yaakov says, let's feel out where this guy is holding. If he's really forgiven me, if he could get past this, then I'm good. So the first thing he's going to see is goats. If I know that he got past that, then I see that there's room to make peace over here. But if I don't, so Yaakov's playing a very calculated game over here, and let him see the goats first. If he sees the goats, by the way, one of the most irritating things in life, possibly the most irritating thing in life, is when you're working on a given character trait, usually anger, right? And you're in your house, and you're doing your best, and your wife doesn't like when you get angry, and your kids don't like when you get angry, and you're really working on it. You're not showing any anger. A lot of things that could tick you off, and you're really working on it. And then one day, your wife or your daughter comes over and says, "Don't get angry," but then you're going to blow up, right? Because that means you haven't even noticed what I've been doing. You haven't even noticed that I've been working on it. Right? The fact that you could even say it, there's no reason. That's an insult. You just insulted me. That's what a whole lot of questions for a few minutes. That's what happens with Hillel and the 2 men who were wagering. They're making that bet to get him angry on Erev Shabbos, And they go through one thing after another, one annoying thing after another. And the most annoying thing the guy says to Hillel after Hillel patiently answers 3 ridiculous questions that the guy asks him, he pulls him out of the shower. And finally, the guy says to Hillel, listen, I got a lot of questions, but I'm worried you're going to get angry. That is potentially the most annoying thing he could say. I just showed you I don't get angry. This is potentially the most annoying thing you could possibly say. So Yaakov Avinu over here sends Esav, let's see how he handles this. So he sends him the goats. So first thing he's going to see after 20 years. Can you imagine Esav walking around and saying, oh, wow, what a gift. Goats. You can imagine Esav's just getting more and more upset because that's exactly what he does. What's the last thing he wants to see. So now let's go to, Joe brings up the math. Okay, let's do some math, gentlemen. Okay, we're going to go we're going to some higher math now. We're going to make into some calculus. So the way it works in Hebrew is like this. See, the number that should come after Yud Daled is 14, right? The letter that should come after is a Yud and a Hey, but that's Hashem's name. Oh, right. And then a Yud Vav is also part of Hashem's name. And therefore the tradition is that we say instead of Yud Dal, we go to Tes Vav, which is 15, and 9 and a 6 is 15, and Tes Zayin is 16 is a 9 and a 7. Right? So even the numbering system in Judaism is exactly not what you would expect it to be. Right, so it's lurking it's waiting for you and hiding everywhere you turn. There's always something, right? So when he comes to he comes to Yaakov, and now he said, now let's do some math. All right, ready, guys? Okay, you have 200 goats and 20 male goats. Okay, that means how many female goats are unaccounted for? Unaccounted for. If you have 200 female goats and 20 male goats, how many are unaccounted for? 180. Okay. You have 200 sheep and 20 rams. How many females are unaccounted for? How much are we up to? 360. You have 30 camels and 30 camelettes. Okay, so they're not in there. They're all accounted for. You have 40 cows and 10 bulls. How many females are unaccounted for? 30. How are we out to? 390. Then you have 20 donkeys, 20 donkeyettes, and 10 donkeys. How many are unaccounted for? 400. Okay, so Yaakov is sending a very subtle message here. You know what I think of? You know what I really think of you and your men? Yeah, you got 400 weak females. That's what I really think. Well, played a game with you, but read between the lines. That's what the Ben Ish Chai says. Right? He's sending him a message over here. Here's 400 unaccounted females. That's what I really think of you and your men. Right? Not what you're thinking. Not what you're thinking. Right? He's sending him a message over here. You know, that's what I think. You're a bunch of women. Right? But I'll play the game with you because I'd rather do it peacefully. And that's what's hidden in this. Now there's another very much deeper idea. You ready for this? We're gonna go for a little bit of a ride now. Okay, we're gonna go for a little bit of a ride. You'll notice that the way Yaakov Avinu sends them, the order he sends it is kosher, goats, sheep, non-kosher, camels, kosher is, what's the fourth one? The bulls, the cows, and the last one is non-kosher. Oh, by the way, I forgot, before I even get that, look, that's why it says in Pasuk Tes Vav, I forgot, it's a kicker. In Pasuk Yud Daled, that's why it says, Vayalan sham balayla ahu, vayikach min haba biyado min chalei Esav achiv. He takes from that which comes to his hand, gifts for Esav. But the commentaries see in Vayikach min haba biyado, he took from that which was on his arms. Easy Masayim, goats. From that which was on his arms, the goatskins. Right, that's why. Vayikach min haba biyado, from that which was on his arms. It was purposely planned out. Okay? Now, so again, the order is kosher, non-kosher, and non-kosher. You ready for this? Okay, we're going to go for a ride now. We're going to go for a ride. Kosher, non-kosher, non-kosher. Okay. So, assuming that kosher refers to the Jewish people and non-kosher refers to the non-Jewish people. So there are various stages in history. The first Beis HaMikdash, was built in the merit of Avraham Avinu. What destroyed the first Beis HaMikdash? Idol worship, immorality, and murder. Okay? Where was the flaw in Avraham Avinu? Where was the flaw in Avraham? He had one flaw. Too much chesed. Yeah, we should all be guilty of such a flaw. Yeah. What was the flaw of Avraham Avinu? He had a son who was flawed, which was who? Yishmael. And what does Sarah Imenu notice? What tendency does she notice in Yishmael? Idol worship, immorality, and murder. Right? So you have Avram's Beis HaMikdash, which will then be destroyed by the Yishmael tendencies of idol worship, immorality, and murder. Second Beis HaMikdash is built. What destroys it?
Sinat Hinam.
Sinat Chinam. What's the second Beis HaMikdash is the merit of whom? Of Yitzchak Avinu. What's the flaw in Yitzchak? Who's the flaw in Yitzchak? Esav. His son. What's Esav guilty of? Sinat Chinam, baseless hatred. Right? Then there's going to be a third Beis HaMikdash, which is who? Yaakov Avinu, and they'll never be destroyed. He has no flaws in his children. Okay? Now, let's say there are 5 periods that we've seen in history. Hold for a few minutes. It's a tapestry. There are 5 periods in Jewish history. Period number 1 is the first period of kosher, which is the Jewish people getting out of the desert. They build a tabernacle. The Mishkan, kosher. That's when the Jewish people are at the pinnacle of success. That lasts for hundreds of years. After that period, what comes? The first Beis HaMikdash, kosher. That's the second period of history. Non-kosher, destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash, and the anti-Semites of the world reign over the Jewish people. The second Beis HaMikdash is built kosher. Right? So, the second Beis HaMikdash is destroyed. Non-kosher. Okay? So we have 5 periods of Jewish history. Kosher, kosher, non-kosher, kosher, and non-kosher. So Yaakov sends Esav a message with these 5 flocks, how history is going to play out. Now, if you're Esav and you see this, and you know that your Romans are the ones that destroyed the second Beis HaMikdash, so then what mood are you going to be if you're Esav? Should be pretty upbeat, because it looks like that's the end of history. It's kosher, kosher, non-kosher, kosher, non-kosher. So look what Yaakov says to the last messenger. Yaakov says to the last messenger, who does this belong to? Take a look at Pasuk Yud Tes. Pasuk, top of page 174. Ve'amarta, you should say, la'avdecha le'Yaakov mincha hishlucha l'adon le'Esav. This is a gift for my master Esav. And Esav's really happy. Wow, this is great. History is going to culminate with me on top. V'hinei gam hu acharenu. Yaakov's coming up behind us. Yaakov's coming up behind us means Yaakov in the third Beis HaMikdash is going to be coming in the band. Right? You're going to end up, you think that history is going to end up with Esav. It ain't going to end up with Esav. History is going to end up with Yaakov with the third Beis HaMikdash coming up in the back. Physically, Yaakov is coming right now. But ultimately, it's going to be that Beis HaMikdash. It's not, you're asking a good question. This goes to Max, what you're going to ask, and Mordechai to a certain extent what you asked as well. When the commentaries talk, they're talking at a level of symbolism. And when they go into the symbolism, either they knew this consciously, or it's a subconscious sign, or it's a sign for us. I can't even tell you which one it is. But the commentaries are seeing in this a message, whether that was Yaakov sending the message to Esav, or the Torah sending a message to us. However it works out, but the symbolism is there. It's not an accident. It didn't get there by itself. Okay? Now, Yaakov is what do you call it? He gets ready. He gets ready to meet Esav. Okay, and then skip down. We're going to get to the epic battle now. This is one of the most spoken about sections of the Torah, which is coming up now. Is the famous wrestling match. He crosses his entire family over a river, and then 3 lines from the bottom. Vayikochem vayavirem es hanachal, vayaveres asher lo. He crosses everything across the river. Vayivasar Yaakov levado. Yaakov remains alone. Vayeyavek ishima adolas hashachar. And a man wrestles with him until morning, till daybreak. So Rashi points out, why did Yaakov remain alone? He went back to get some small utensils. I mean, you're going to meet Esav. You got a mortal conflict coming up, a potentially mortal conflict, and that's what you're going. Right? Can you imagine you're going off to war and you forgot your pen? So you go back to get your pen, or you go back to get your toaster, right? Yeah, the enemy's coming with a battlefront. Yaakov goes back to get a few utensils. So you see, Chazal say tzaddikim, their money is very beloved to them. You know why? Because they don't want to end up stealing. You made money. What do you don't let your money just run through your fingers, because then who knows what you're going to resort to earn other money. If the tzaddikim don't want to steal, God gave me something. That's why you're not allowed to just waste things. And ultimately, we will be accountable on whatever nonsense we spent our money on. So each person has to know. This is what we were speaking about earlier. Harry brought up about buying a slice of pizza to give to the Sultan. If you need it, reasonably at our level. But if you go squandering your money away, ultimately, God gave you the money. What are you squandering it for? That's what He gave it to you, so you can squander it. So you go gambling or go doing something. What do you call it? It's one thing if you go to a ball game. That's important. But to go squander, your money away. There was a famous English football, the English soccer player who, he made millions and he blew all the money. So they once said to him, George, what happened to all your money? He said, well, most of it I spent on booze and carousing. The rest of it I wasted. So each one, it depends on what your values are in life. You're given the money, Yaakov doesn't want to lose it. Why should I leave it behind? That means that I'm going to need that much more and I might end up stealing. And this is for Yaakov, the man of truth, the man of honesty. The last thing he wants to do is end up in a state where he's stealing. So Yaakov remains alone. A man fights with him till daybreak. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This is Jewish history in one sentence. The whole Jewish history is encapsulated in one sentence over here. Who's this man that he fights with? Torah refers to him as a man. Who is this man? The Yitzhara. Soro Shel Esav, the ministering angel of Esav. And the man is wrestling with him till daybreak. So first of all, night, the entire night. They wrestle through the night. Night is always a symbol of exile. Night is always when things look bleak. Night is always when things look you're low, it's glum. Night is always when people feel the intensity of whatever suffering they're going through. By the way, when you get married, Be'ezer Hashem, somebody is going to give you a piece of well-meaning but incorrect advice. Usually an aunt. It's usually an aunt, maybe even a great aunt. Right? She's going to pull you aside. No, not the mother-in-law. No. It's going to be an aunt or a great aunt, almost for sure. Just like when you bought a diamond. When you buy a diamond, who do you get the diamond from, Binyamin, right? You either get it from an uncle or a great uncle, right? There's always an uncle in the family who's involved in diamonds. It's true. Always an uncle or a great uncle. Anything with cars, who do you go to? Anything with tires, cars, anything, always a brother or a brother-in-law. Isn't that interesting? Right? If you need to get a car, where do we get it, Yona? Oh, yeah, my brother-in-law can get me a deal. Right? There's always a brother. I think it's a generational thing. The younger ones are with the cars. The older ones are already moved up to diamonds. Right? It's always the way it is. I got my diamond for my wife also, an uncle. There's always an uncle. His name is usually Al. And the what do you call the what do you call it was actually your grandfather. The what do you call it the nighttime. You're going to get somebody's going to tell you that you and your wife should never go to sleep upset with each other. Always work it out before you go to sleep. Then right? Didn't somebody tell you that? One of the worst pieces of advice you'll ever get. The best thing you could do if you're upset is go to sleep. Just go to sleep. You know what? We're upset. Let's just go to sleep. Because at night, everything looks bleak. Everything, you're tired. She's tired. You're sensitive. She's more sensitive. And all you do is they have a full-blown 15-round knockout, right? And sometimes it only goes one round. Right? And then you'll say things that you'll regret saying, or that you regret not having said them sooner. You'll say something that you regret, and she's going to cry. Everybody's upset. You go to sleep. You wake up in the morning. The sun is shining. It doesn't look so bad. Everything will work out. And you could save a 3-hour slugfest at night by getting up in the morning, and everything is fresh. Night is always exile. Elie Wiesel, his first book was called Night. That was his first book. That was the first that anybody ever heard of. Elie Wiesel was the book was Night. Is his Holocaust story. Night is always exile. Yaakov Avinu fights with Esav all through the night of exile. That's what destiny of the Jewish people is going to be. You know when? Vayishlach Yaakov, he remains alone. The Jews, our strength is in our unity. Vayishlach Yaakov levado, Yaakov remains alone. When you're alone, you're vulnerable. Jews are not lone rangers. Jews are a community. Jews are united. When Jews are together, Esav leaves us alone. When the Jew remains alone, symbolically or literally, then the Esavs of the world start up. Yaakov remains alone. The man wrestles with him until the morning. What does the word vayavek come from, gentlemen? The word vayavek ishimo. They wrestle. Avak means what?
Dust.
Excellent. They wrestle till morning. It's called wrestling, vayavek, because when you jockey for position, you kick up dust. When you jockey for position in a wrestling match, you kick up dust. So it's an interesting statement. The Gemara says, you know how high they were kicking up dust? You know how high the dust went? dust went all the way up to God's throne. Okay, if you say so. If they, you want to measure it, they got a tape measure. Wow, look at that dust go. Wow, where'd it go? It's all the way to God's throne. Okay, why do I need to know that? What is significant about this? So I'll tell you, one of the most powerful ideas I've ever heard, ever. I heard this from Rabbi, I heard it in the name of Rabbi Tzvi Meir Zilberberg. You've heard of Rabbi Tzvi Meir? Holy Hasidic Rebbe. So Tzvi Meir Zilberberg said, you know what the Torah, what does the Gemara mean? It's a Gemara. The Gemara says, the dust went all the way to God's throne. Okay, if you say so. Why would the Gemara tell us that? You know what the Gemara is telling you? The Gemara is telling you that it's not the victory that goes up to God's throne. It's the battle against the Yetzer Hara goes up to God's throne. Right? You ever have a battle, gentlemen? You ever have 10 minutes that you don't have a battle? Right? Every time you fight, and I guarantee you, some of the fights you're going to win, and some of the fights you're going to lose. That's life. And we all have our battles at every level. The fight itself, that's what God wants from us. There's no time that, there's a game of life. You ever heard of Game of Life? There's a big lawsuit involved also. Who's taking credit for the Game of Life? Sold over 30 million copies. And now there's a fight. Who was the real inventor? Okay, they're in court. In the Game of Life, how do you win? Where do you go in the Game of Life? You never played Life? Never played Life with the spinner?
Yeah, the board game.
Yeah, the board game, yeah. Yeah, you go to Millionaire Acres. That's it, I'm in Millionaire Acres. That's it. Now I'm sliding, I'm coasting. I'm skating for the rest of my... there's no Millionaire Acres in Judaism. Not in where I live anyway, right? There's never a point where you're done with the fight. Because at every level there's a battle. At every level there's a battle. And it's the battle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. We were put here to fight the Yetzer Hara. And that battle, the fact that you take it on, that dust goes up to the Kisei HaKavod. And by the way, I got news for you. There are going to be times where you fight a battle, you fight, and you end up losing the battle. But for those moments of fighting, you went up to the Kisei HaKavod. It's not just it's not the victory or the loss. It's the moments of fight that HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants. Obviously, he wants us to win. Imagine you get on a bus, and there's some sort of non-male type person that you'd like to look at, right? And you don't look. You don't look, and then you look. Usually you're disappointed anyway. You look, right? Usually you look and you think, oh, for that I'm going to Gehenna? Oh boy, that was wasted, right? So you don't look, and then you look, right? For those moments that you didn't look, you went up to the Kisei HaKavod. You looked, okay, you'll be accountable for that too. Don't think, oh, well, I lost. No, you didn't lose. You won, and then you took a shot to the jaw in the seventh, right? But ultimately, you got a couple of good shots in there. The first few rounds you got to go, and eventually you win, because the next time you didn't do it. And that's what it means. He fights with them and goes up to Kisei. Okay, so next time we'll see where the fight goes.